Hey, welcome to Strength Side. I'm here with Vincent Doe, and this is a good buddy of mine, and we've had some great conversations lately about overextension, and we've kind of been through the same road of trying to get stronger and then getting injured because we were in poor positions, basically. So we've been having some great conversations about just this whole faulty movement pattern in the fitness community. And then I was like, hey, this is like what we always talk about on Strength Side. Let's get some of this on camera. So let's do it. So basically, I just want you to tell everybody kind of like what your story is, how you ran into problems, and where you're at now.
So when I first started lifting, I only knew cues. I heard the cue arch all the time on squats and deadlifts. So I didn't really know what bracing was besides keep it tight and arch. And I was so good at arching that I ended up hyperextending. And at some point I injured my back, and I couldn't get back. I couldn't get past that plateau without running into that point again.
Okay.
And I watched myself on video. I was like, there's nothing wrong with my back. I'm not rounding. Everyone knows not to round, but I wasn't rounding. And then finally, I read somewhere about overextension, like you can go the opposite way.
Yeah.
And that was it. That's really all it took to fix my back injury. I plateaued for 2 years. I found the hyperextension fault, and I fixed it, and I blew past my plateau of 2 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I think it's interesting what you say, though. You were able to get semi-strong, right? Even with this overarch overextension.
Yeah.
But you just kept hitting a point where it wouldn't work anymore and something would break down, right?
Yeah, totally. Like my best deadlift was 340 at 123 at overextending all the time.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show you can get really strong without having proper bracing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people go even farther than that. I mean, I've seen videos on Instagram where people are pulling 500 pounds at, I don't know, like 165 or whatever,
Yeah.
and they're hyperextending. I see that and I think to myself, like, I don't know how long they're able to sustain that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really important to note, is that you can get stronger, you can stack strength, you can get faster through, with these poor positions, but at some point, boom, something's going to break down, and then you're going to have to go back to ground level and fix it, basically, right? But it sounds like once you discovered what was kind of the issue, you were able to correct it pretty quickly.
Yeah. I was. It's so funny because to correct hyperextension, your abs need to be contracting hard enough, right?
Yeah.
Counteract to your posterior chain. My abs were really strong at that point already. I could do ab wheels with 80 pounds on my back, like no problem. So
on your feet, right?
Yeah, I could do unweighted on my feet as well.
Yeah.
So it wasn't an issue of ab strength. It was an issue of just coordination. Like no matter how strong your abs are, if they're not firing properly in a squat or a deadlift, you're still going to be stuck in hyperextension.
Yeah. And that's like a big thing that we have talked about a little bit, is it's not necessarily ab and core strength, it's more of coordination to be able to activate those muscles while you're moving into, whatever it is, hip flexion, knee flexion, basically with a squat and the deadlift, that's what you need to do. So I think that if you can't do that and you do have strong abs, then you need to take some steps back and figure out some ways that you can basically just activate those muscles while running through those ranges of motion.
That's a really great point. One of the exercises that helped me get that coordination was the hanging leg raise.
Okay.
A lot of people do the hanging leg raise without thinking about remaining in that hollow position, without keeping their abs contracted. They let their spine kind of do anything it wants. They just think about raising the legs.
Yeah.
I think that's a suboptimal way to go about it. What I did was, I sit in that hollow position. I can demonstrate that if you'd like.
Yeah, we can show it. We'll do a video on this, and then that'll be another ab exercise to add to the collection of ways that we can hopefully just get out of this overextension, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like also I think that it's worth noting that these things also carry over into upper body movements as well, right? If your rib cage is flaring, then your shoulders aren't going to articulate quite the same way as they would if your rib cage is stacked over your pelvis, right?
That's right.
So, at first, of course, like I saw all these hip issues, lower back issues, but then I started to see, like this is even carrying over into my bench press and my overhead presses and stuff too. And I think you kind of had a similar experience.
Yeah, I did. I was very used to arching very hard on the bench press, but I also was not bracing my abs properly. I was just thinking about getting the biggest arch I could, and that only added to my hyperextension problems. So I actually had to stop arching on the bench for the longest time. I've only recently gotten back to slight arching, but now I keep my abs tighter, and my whole body just feels stiffer. I feel stronger on the bench just because I brace my abs harder.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think a lot of people just arch as hard as they can and have no tension here. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll definitely go over some of these. We'll go over some exercises and some techniques with Vincent that's helped him the most to overcome a lot of the overextension issues. But is there any big tips you'd want to give to people going forward that they could just take from this video?
Learn how to properly hip hinge. Learn what a neutral spine is. Master that position before you load up and weight.
Yeah, I think that's a big message of the channel. Is if you can't do these things, if you can't keep a neutral spine under body weight, if you can't get on your back and do a dead bug or just do a body weight hip hinge with a neutral spine, then loading yourself up is eventually just gonna lead to injury or something, right?
Yeah, it's just building upon faulty movement.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing your story with us, Vincent. And like I said, you'll be seeing him in the future. See you in the next one.